NCAA put a hard 25 incoming counter cap on this year. So it's not, there's no numbers games. Again, unless you're Alabama, when they have signed 27, like go look up on 24/7 Sports. Like I'm not making it up. There's 14 kids who enrolled for this year. There's 13 who were otherwise signed. And then they're trying to get Henry To'o from Tennessee to be a 28th new incoming counter on their roster this year. And I've seen the bylaw. Like you can go and look up from the NCAA website. You can go find it on Twitter or on any social media. The NCAA is very clear. This year, you can add 25 players to your roster through any talent acquisition means, whether that be transfer portal, that be incoming counters from high school. However you do it, you count from 1 to 25, the end. So for us, who obviously the NCAA is going to look at it and everything, no, I do not see that there is in any way or any metric or mechanic through which we can add additional talent. Manny Diaz even spoke about it in his National Signing Day presser last week, saying, unless the NCAA does something else, no, we're full right now. Like the head coach openly said that. You can go look that up on YouTube. I think it's Canes All Access. Like he in color said that. But again, unless you're Alabama, when rules don't matter to you, then like no. So I hope that, I mean, and even if there's a bylaw change, it would probably be for the 2022 cycle. So this year or next year's class and moving forward where, you might do something or change some kind of numbers. But I mean, there's going to be trickle down or unintended impacts of that. Because if you say, okay, well, it's 30 counters now and you can use them however you want, or it's 32 incoming counters, 25 from high school, and then up to 7 in the transfer portal, like, there's going to be unintended consequences for smaller teams and other things. It's not only going to address the one thing. The one thing that you want of having additional room for Miami to add players will be addressed, but that's also going to affect and impact other teams and other situations that if you're narrowly looking at one thing of, okay, we just want a way where we can add transfer portal guys and high school guys, there's unintended consequences that are going to happen. I don't necessarily know them all. I haven't thought of them, but this is a thing where it's not a single source issue, because if one thing gets addressed, other things are going to happen. There's going to be other fallout. So just know that. But again, I'm taking the NCAA at their printed word. I'm taking Manny Diaz at his word, and I'm taking my brain, which is a good brain and works, at knowing that no, there's no other room right now unless something changes, and I don't think that that's going to.
Hurricane, Cam and Mark. Here's some love for my brothers. Appreciate that, Hurricane Logan. Cam, you're hopeful starting wide receivers next year. Also, Chaney's still got to be running back 1 in my eyes. And what are our linebacker expectations this year with the coaching changes? So wide receivers, running back, and linebacker. Wide
receivers are going to be Charleston Rambo, Mike Harley, and insert wide receiver 3. I would like to see Keyshawn Smith get a chance. I would like to see Michael Redding III also maybe have an opportunity there. Or, hey, if they develop and they learn how to not drop the ball 16 or 18% of the time, it could be Pope or Wiggins. And we got other guys on the roster as well. I think Miami is carrying like 11 wide receivers right now. Manny Diaz said that he wanted to be there, but that's what you say when you don't have a real number 1 or 2 guy, and then you just have to go by committee. I would prefer to be in that, 9, 10 wide receiver range, maybe with a red shirt or 2. So 8 on game day, but, hey, it is what it is. But you're not bringing in Charleston Rambo to sit. It's just like De'Aaron King from last year. He, has put up thousands of yards of receiving at Oklahoma. He's going to be your wide receiver 1. Mike Harley's going to be your wide receiver 2. And then you hope that you have another guy who's able to step in there. Hey, maybe that's a spot where one of these true freshmen, again, you have a Romello Brinson he has the size, physicality, and game to be that X receiver that we haven't had on the roster since Amon Richards. Maybe he's a guy who steps in as that X, and then you have the Y and the Z are going to be Rambo and Harley. So it'll be something along those lines, but Rambo and Harley are going to start. I think you can set that in stone for me. Donald Chaney Jr. is the best running back on the roster. I don't really think that there's any conversation about that. I do also still think that Cam Harris is going to start, because this is, again, a spot where Miami's going to, or the coaching staff is going to look at longevity and seniority, because you don't necessarily want to run him off, because this is the age of the transfer portal and you don't want to make him mad or whatever, something like that. But I do think that Donald Chaney is the better running back of those. And then Jalen Knighton is a wonderful change of pace back. So he could be the 1A or the 2, but he's the lightning to Donald Chaney's thunder, if you will. In terms of linebackers, it's what I said last year that ended up not being what Blake Baker did, which I think had an adverse impact on the defense. But Miami should be looking to get more athletic at linebacker, because we're not, not at LSU. We're not at Alabama. We're not going to have guys who are 6'5", 250. So we need to be more athletic. But you've got guys like Avery Huff and Sam Brooks and others. So why are we not leaning on them to – because the thing with the linebacker position, you had the seniority and the experience of Shaq Quarterman and Michael Pinckney in 2019, which is wonderful. And those are, first team All-ACC and honorable mention All-ACC players. So that's great because they performed to a high level, even though it started off a little rocky that year and then it got smoothed out. When you remove them and their experience and their size, you're not going to replace them, person for person, and that's okay because you can lean in to this incredible increase in athleticism at the position. And that was the area of strength. And that should have informed what we did schematically, because you didn't have the size, you didn't have the experience, but you have all kinds of, look, Avery Huff is still 6'3", 210. That's plenty. You know what I mean? And plenty of size and increased athleticism. So that's where I wanted things to go last year, and it didn't. And I think that hurt the defense. I hope that it goes there this year, where we lean into the strength of the defense being the athleticism. But we'll see what happens. Ronan, going back to your question, I do see you. Again, it's not about counting someone forward. The NCAA has said clearly, in this year of 2021's recruiting cycle, this cycle that technically is still ongoing because there's a window for players to still sign, but in this offseason, you can only add 25 people regardless of where you get them from. There are no games of counting forward or counting backward. I call them games. The what would you call them? Paperwork engagements or clerical things where you could have a guy come in late and then count him towards another year, even though he's here right now. I'm going to allocate that scholarship towards the next class. All of those metrics and mechanics have been removed by the NCAA. So if you don't have a space for them in your 25, then we don't have a room for them. And the thing that you're talking about, having somebody come in and count them to a different year, as I understand it, as the NCAA has said it, and as Manny Diaz has said it, that kind of interaction or mechanic does not exist at this time in this season, which is specifically being informed and shaped by the fact that you have coronavirus and the fact that you can go over your 85 scholarship limit because everybody who's on your roster has the ability to return to the roster, and all those seniors would not count against your 85 scholarship cap if they were the ones who were going to return. So I understand what you're asking, but that does not exist in this world of the NCAA and everything, talent acquisitions, recruiting, roster additions right now.